I had last night downstairs in the holy Achei Temimim, what they called a panel about Mashiach. I'll be honest with you, I was very disappointed with the questions. If they were 6th graders, they would have been good questions. 8th graders, 20-year-old bocharim, it was such a childish questions asked in a childish way. The guy's questions here, I shall lay better, more mature. And it was really, that's the best you got.
Can you give an example?
Yeah, Mashiach's going to come anyway, so why should I bring him? But that's the same question 5 ways. I'll be Chabad light. Mashiach's going to come anyway. 5 different bocharim wrote the same stupidities. I couldn't find one mature question. So after I made fun of the first 4, I said, you know what, I'm not going to answer your question. I'll tell you what Mashiach means. And I gave him a 20-minute speech. Whatever, 5 minutes. We're sitting 2 people together. I couldn't take over the whole show. It was disappointing. It's so, really? That's your question? They haven't even thought about Mashiach. The whole thing is, the whole Disneyland model of Mashiach is so childish. It's so not true. And everyone's walking around thinking the Mashiach means candies. I don't understand. I said to the girls of Beis Rivka, no one taught you about Mashiach. Yeah, Mashiach means that I'm going to see my grandmother. First of all, it's not even true. Tchias doesn't happen necessarily right away. You're not going to see your grandmother. But that's not what it's about, even if you will see your grandmother. It's about this world belonging to the Eibishter. That's what it means. So let me give you my speech, okay? This is what I planned to say this morning. Somehow it ties into Lamnatzeach Ben Guinness. I may not get around to Lamnatzeach Ben Guinness, but that's okay. I will have this conversation this morning. And the fact that now in Eretz Yisrael there's a Machon, the Eibishter is showing Messianic type miracles is an extra motivation to have this conversation. In a sentence, Mashiach is about Yiddishkeit. Mashiach is about religion, it's about Yiddishkeit. And not just Yiddishkeit for Yidden, Yiddishkeit for Goyim, lyhadus. Not Goyim keep Taryag mitzvahs, Goyim keep, the Rebbe calls it Sheva mitzvahs didu, Sheva mitzvahs b'nei Ne'er. But I want to digress, okay? I want to give you a social speech. I want to give you a politically correct speech, or at least a speech which acknowledges the need for political correctness. A lot of people in the world today hate religion. I don't like the word religion because I think the word religion is generic and it's packing Judaism, what the Rambam calls Das Ha'emes, the religion of truth, in with every hocus pocus that ever came down the side. We don't talk about religion, we talk about Yiddishkeit, but let's use the word. Okay, when I say religion, I mean Teda mitzvahs. I don't mean all the religions in the world. A lot of people have very, very bitter feelings towards religion. They hate religion, they're angry with religion. Religion is at fault for all the problems in the world. All kinds of things like this, right? What is their problem with religion? What is their problem? So of course they blame all the wars on religion. World War I and World War II, which were the worst wars in history, were both fought by people who didn't believe in God. But religion is at fault for all the wars. Professors say it with a shameless face. All wars, really? 1,000 years of war in Europe that were somehow based on religion didn't do what the First and Second World War did by itself. And those were secular wars, mamish secular wars. But religion is fault for all war. The reason people have a problem with religion is because religion makes you feel bad. Religion sets standards, rules. You can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. And the people say, why can't I? I want to have fun. I want to do what I want. Religion doesn't let me do this. Religion controls me. And because religion controls me, I'm angry at religion because it's taking away my freedom. And then, of course, you go as far as to say that the whole reason religion is trying to control people is because they're stuck-up old people and they don't understand. And that the whole need for control is artificial. Now, what is the truth? What is the truth? What is the truth? What is the truth? A man and a woman get married, yeah? Should they or should they not be loyal to each other? Should they have fidelity? Should they behave like human beings, or should they look animal? I'm asking you a question. Today, people raise that question b'chlal. I mean, the word marriage has no meaning anyway. The word marriage has no meaning. The word intimacy has no meaning. But everybody agrees it's better for a couple, forgive me for bringing this up in the Beis HaMedrash, not to cheat on each other. But religion is bad for telling me. Why? Quote, people are going to do it anyway. And you have to be nice. You don't want to judge. You want to be nice to people, you want to include people, you want to forgive people, right? I gave you a benign example, but I can give you 1,000 examples for the same. There's so many examples of the same. Religion tells people, do this, don't do this, and the world says, I want to. But what religion is saying is true. The things that religion is telling people to do and not to do are actually right. They're just hard. They're just hard. Yiddishkeit gives you a way of life. The way of life that Yiddishkeit gives you controls you in 1,000 ways. This is not correct, this is not the right time, and this should be done this way, and all of these other things. And I don't want to be told what to do. Why? I disagree? No, I don't disagree. But I can't help myself. I can't control myself. So I want to ask you a simple question. If religion came to you and told you the best way to live, and it's not the best way to live, and you had the will and the moral strength to listen to what the Torah is telling you, would it be a bad thing or a good thing? The values that the Torah teaches, are they actually bad? Are they actually hurting people, or are they actually good? The answer to that question is, of course they're good. But I'm angry because since I cannot meet the standards that Yiddishkeit sets, so Yiddishkeit is criticizing me, and I don't want to feel criticized, so I blame the messenger. Religion is bad because it doesn't let me do this, and doesn't let me do this, and doesn't let me do this.
She was growing at an astronomical rate.
But what would happen if you could? If you had the ability to listen to all the things Torah tells you to do, you had the moral strength, you would say, this is the best thing. This gives me life. So guys, I want you to understand what I just described, that's what Mashiach is. What I just said is Mashiach. Mashiach's a person who, whatever tricks he has, whether they're spiritual tricks or they're charisma tricks, it's a combination of many, many different tricks. Mashiach is a human being who's not just going to tell people that they have to listen to the Torah. Yidden have to keep 613 mitzvahs, and lyhadus goyim have to keep 7 mitzvahs. Mashiach is actually going to get people to do it. What makes Mashiach special is not what he tries. Because Mashiach is going to try the very same thing that 20 kings before him already tried. One of the most important foundational teachings of the Rambam, especially as it's flushed out by the Rebbe Sikh about Mashiach, is Mashiach's not a new concept. Mashiach's not a new concept. Mashiach's an old concept. Because the halachic criteria for Mashiach is Melech. Mashiach's Melech HaMashiach is a king. He's not the first king, he's the final king. David was a king, Shlomo was a king, Rechavam was a king, Asa was a king, Yeshavat was a king. There have been many kings. The difference between Mashiach and all those other kings is one word, Matzliach. He gets it done. What does he get done? First of all, numero uno, he makes it so safe. The first thing a king has to do is make it so safe. But number 2, numero dos, after he makes it so safe, his second job is to teach Yidden how to keep Torah mitzvahs. And they'll listen. And the pshat are going to listen, not because he's going to hit them with a stick, because one of the most important ideas of Mashiach and Yemoisa Mashiach is that we find the strength to be good. Nobody wants to sleep in. So why do you? I can't get up. Nobody wants to overeat, so why do? I can't stop myself. Nobody wants to waste 5 hours of his time talking to a rebbe or watching movies, so why do you? I have no self-control. The issue is not whether this is good or bad. The issue is whether this is something that I can do or not. We get angry when Taylor says don't watch movies. Why? Watching movies is a good thing? No. I don't want to feel like a Russia. And Yiddishkeit is telling me you're bad, you're bad, you're bad, you're bad. Yiddishkeit's not telling me anything which I don't agree with. Yiddishkeit is simply saying don't give me excuses. And our whole life is excuses. We live in a generation that's defined by excuses. The world we live in today is so indulgent, it's unbelievable. We're so spoiled. The right word is we waste. We waste everything. And above all else, we waste time. Kids start to learn when they're 7 or 8. The best years of their brain are gone by the time they're 7 or 8. Why? Because they have to play. And we've come up with all these philosophical explanations how important it is for children to play and to cut with a scissors. It's bubba-meises. Kids just start learning when they're 4. The brain is so open. Why don't we do it? Because we live in a culture that's so defined by consumerism, as they call it in the language of history. And I call waste. Waste. We waste time. We waste money, we waste things. We waste. And America does everything in a big way. So we waste. Everything is big. We waste. And we're angry at religion, not because religion is telling us anything we don't agree with. We're angry at religion because religion is telling us something we think we cannot do and we don't want to be judged and feel bad. Mashiach doesn't just tell us to do the right thing. Somehow he gives us the koyach to do it. Could you imagine if you would set your alarm every day and get up when the alarm rings? Could you imagine if you made yourself a bedtime and you went to sleep when you're scheduled to go to sleep? That's all. Stupid stuff like that. It's called discipline. It's called being a mensch. The opposite of having discipline. Being a mensch is having no discipline and being an animal. So religion is bad because it tells you that. I feel very bad when people constantly tell me I'm no good. I agree. But it's not because what I'm being told is wrong. It's because I tell myself what I'm being told I can't do. Mashiach means we could do it. And Mashiach means not only we could do it, but we will do it. That's what it means. So in other words, when we start talking about miracles, miracle, no miracle, the whole question of miracles of Mashiach is a secondary question. Will miracle happen as soon as Mashiach comes, or miracles not happen initially? Like I said before, they can happen at a later date, right? Or the third possibility: will everybody experience miracles, or only the people who are in the madrega of Talmidei Chachamim, like the Ram of the Zoyar's lashon? People who are holding by Eitz HaChaim experience miracles. People who are still holding on the madrega of Eidev Rav, which is the madrega of Eitz Hadas Teva Ra, until they do tshuva, they're going to live in a teva world, and only afterwards they're going to have nisim. That's not the issue of Mashiach. That's a detail. The issue of Mashiach is a place and a world ushered in by a bas of Adam, by one man. That's what's so amazing about Mashiach. He's a person. And what's he going to teach the world? He's going to teach the world to keep all the mitzvahs. Not because he's mean and angry and because he wants us to get into Gehenna, we're not getting into Gehenna. Because this is the best thing for a person. It's good for a person to learn Torah. It's not good for a person to not learn Torah. And the Torah isn't bad because it tells that to you. I feel bad because I can't do it and have good excuses. But the underlying issue is I'm less of a person because I can't do what the Torah says. I'll be more of a person if I can do what the Torah says. I wish I could do what the Torah says. So why are you angry at the Torah? Because the Torah makes me feel bad. When Mashiach comes, we'll listen. That's Mashiach. Mashiach is a world in which human beings find within themselves the moral strength to do the hard thing. I said to the Bacham last night in the middle of that totally childish Mashiach conversation. America has a concept which is called the American dream. The idea of the American dream is that I should make enough money that I shouldn't have to work at a relatively early age. That whole concept is such a terrible concept. It's such a terrible, terrible concept. Because basically what the American dream is saying is that the purpose of a person is to be a child, to have fun, to have pleasure, to have fun, to be entertained, to enjoy life. That's not a person. That's an animal. A person was meant to work hard. Not to work hard in order to make money. That's a detail. Work hard to be a mensch. If my life is being 45 and playing golf and going out to dinner and changing 4 times a day in different outfits, because when I go to breakfast I have to wear this outfit, when I play golf I have to wear this outfit, when I go out to do something else in the afternoon I put on a 3rd outfit, when I go to dinner 4th outfit, and my whole life is the food I eat and the clothing I wear and the social group I hang with, and we sit around and tell one another how amazing we are. It's like little kids eating candies or watching movies, but it's decorated. It's nicer cologne. It's nothing. That's not a person. That's a person ruining himself. It's a person waiting to die. We're here to work. Not work because Hashem is mean. Because when a person works, he becomes a person. And if, Baruch Hashem, you have so much money that you don't have to work to make a living, so you work to fill your mind. Not even Torah, ideas, but meaningful things. And yes, the ultimate meaningful thing in the world, which is the simplest meaningful thing in the world, is kindness. But the kindness is not to strangers, the kindness is to my wife. First of all, one of the most important halachas in Torah, is that tzedakah begins with the person closest to yourself. Why is that? Because it's very hard to give tzedakah to people close to us. It's so easy to send tzedakah to pygmies in Asia or Africa or South America. Isn't it a rachmanas on them? But my wife, she's obnoxious. Yeah, my husband is a baby. My parents, the worst people I've lived since God created human beings. My siblings, I can't talk to them. Torah says that's where charity begins. Why? Because when you give $1 to people close to you, you're giving a piece of your soul. And when you give a piece of your soul, you actually become a better person. It's called midos toivos, refining character. When you send $100 to the pygmies in Asia, you feel good. You have a drop of guilt. You feel like $1 million, and you haven't changed an iota. When you give that $100 to your brother because he's down on his luck, and you didn't want to give it to him because you don't like him, and you have been fighting with him since you're 7, and it's his fault that he neglected his life, and you give him the money anyway, you become better for it. That's what a person is meant to do. That's what Mashiach is. Mashiach's not about the miracles. Mashiach is about people actually acting like people. And like people is, if I can choose the easy path, I choose the hard path, I choose the hard path. Why? Not because I like to suffer. That's the language we use in our culture. I don't want to suffer. I don't want to suffer means I want to do nothing except have pleasure. You know how depressing it is? I want to work hard because it's good, because it's righteous. It makes me a better person. Imagine living in a world where people just have the will to be good, to go to sleep on time and to get up on time and do what they need to do. What would they say in the college campuses if they would hear these few words? Go to sleep on time and get up on time. Oh, they're so boring. They don't know how to have fun. They don't understand life. They don't understand entertainment. Yeah, it's true. But it's not because the alternative is better. It's because the alternative is easier. The alternative is hefker. I am telling you that people who work hard have greater pleasure when they eat food. They have greater pleasure when they put on nice clothes. They have greater pleasure when they enjoy all the physical pleasures of the world. When the pleasures of the world are a support, are a complement to a life of hard work. But if all the person has is pleasure, they never have enough. And it's never even fulfilling, because pleasure is icing on a cake, but you have to have the cake first. And the cake is ein mensch. This is how you have to understand Mashiach. You have to understand Mashiach as a human being. There's a war going on in this world. A war, not between Israel and Iran, not because Russia and Ukraine. Between good and evil. And unfortunately, evil has found very, very creative ways of framing itself. Evil says that a human being is best when he has no rules. Really, no rules, and it goes this extreme. There's a whole collection of human beings on this earth who believe that there should be no borders. Any person should be able to live wherever he wants in the world. The person who makes that statement, I came across this by mistake. A person who makes that statement is so unbelievably spoiled. They're so naive. That statement comes from such childishness. It comes from such a lack of understanding of what people are and what jealousy is. That person is so unbelievably... To make that statement, you have to have never been mugged. Push it. You live a perfect life where everybody gives you everything, and you create this fantasy of this world, this imaginary perfect world, and you want people to actually create this world this way without appreciating that there's such a thing called evil, and there's such a thing called yetzer hara, and that's the evil inclination, and every human being has an evil inclination, and the rules and the borders are meant to curb that evil, to control it. And you come along and say, why should I control it? Let it be free. You know what they used to say when I was growing up? That if you're 20 and you're not a liberal, you have no heart. And if you're 40, you're not a conservative, you have no brain. The world is a dangerous place. But the war between good and evil is not to protect yourself from danger. It's the mistake. The war between good and evil is that you have to put up borders and don't let the Mexicans in because we're mean. The war between good and evil is that people should be good. Not to keep every person has to look in the mirror and say to himself, how can I be a better person? Not how I could look better. I can have my picture in the paper because I wrote a check. How can I be a better person? And the only place really where that comes out is when it's not in the paper. How do I treat my wife? That's the most fundamental question. And if I treat my wife terribly, I'm a terrible person. And everything else I do is a lie. If I treat my wife with kindness, and the magic word when it comes to all relationships is the word acceptance. I accept her faults and I accept my faults. And I live and I make it work. That is called growing up. That's what religion teaches in 1,000 ways. About how we eat, how we sleep, how we dress, how we walk, how we talk, how we interact, how we relate. That's what it's about. The childish of Mashiach is one thing. That he makes it happen. He gets people to follow the Torah, not to feel the Torah is controlling them and ruining their life and taking away their fun. He's teaching people what's really important. What's really important. Really important. This is Mashiach. So I want to get back to a point, which is somehow negated to the Lam Latzeach Ben Yinis. If you appreciate what I just told you about Mashiach, you understand that whether miracles happen when Mashiach comes, or miracles don't happen when Mashiach comes, is really not that big a deal. It's not about the miracles. It's about the miracle of humanity. It's the miracle of humanity. People actually being people. People actually taking responsibility for themselves and working and making themselves better and growing and supporting each other in ways that have to do with becoming a better and better, a higher and higher human being. And the highest level of human being is the use of the brain. And the highest level of the use of the brain is the brain being used lyhadus savaya bavad to understand the Eibishter, which is why when the Rambam talks about Mashiach, that's what he talks about. Our life is going to be so boring in the lashon of the college students. All we're going to do is study God. But it's not going to be boring at all. It's going to be so rich. Why is it not going to be boring? We're not going to have any fun. Because we'll realize that fun is for little kids. And we're not little kids. We're men. We're grown human beings. To me, this idea, I remember my wife and I went to Bar Mitzvah. We invited to Bar Mitzvah. It's about children family in Crown Heights. The parents were very wealthy. So they used to make, whenever the family had a simcha, they would make a separate party for their friends. So they had to invite a few token Crown Heights, shtickle Bar Mitzvah. And I remember, my wife and I went to this Bar Mitzvah, and we got into the elevator to go home, and there's an elderly couple talking about the veal. Was the veal good? And they were very upset about the veal. The veal was a big problem. It was very big. The whole way, it was maybe we went with them for 5 minutes. We were talking about how the veal tasted, how the veal should taste. Said, "Yo got that tam," said, "Nish got that tam." My wife and I were young. So for us to be koching in veal made sense, but people in their 70s koching in veal. The veal should taste good, yeah. I mean, the veal is too tough, it's not soft enough, there's either overcooked or undercooked is taka no good. But really, how important is that? Really, that's what life's about, veal? You know how many people actually believe that? You know how many people define themselves by it? I can afford to always eat good veal. Really? Das a mensch? Das a oxen a streimel. It's an animal. You want to be a person? Use your mind. Fill it with knowledge. Work on you. Mashiach's a poshet tezach. He gets people to actually do it. The way the world works, as we all know, is you have overachievers, you have underachievers, then you have everybody in between. Some people are always going to work hard. Some people are going to be losers. Most people look at their neighbors. I'm not going to be more religious or less religious than people around me. So that's why when the standards drop, which is unfortunately what's happening, it drops by everybody. You know, the standards, what's a Yiddish Shamayim, what's a Chassidish Yid, we keep on lowering the standards, and the answer is everyone's doing it. That's the number one heter for every Aved in the world is everyone is doing it. How could it be wrong if everyone's doing it? But it is. And the measure, the barometer, whether it's a good or it's a bad thing, does it make you more mensch or less mensch? Does it contribute more to the idea that a person is working on being a better person, or does it contribute more to defining myself by pleasure and fun and early retirement? And there's nothing wrong with having pleasure, but there's something wrong with defining yourself by that pleasure. The pleasure is a culmination, it's a graduation of a life of work. You enjoy your food better after a day's work. If you did nothing, and then you come and eat a nice meal, okay, so people can define themselves by a piece of veal. The whole childish of Mashiach is a success. So the Rebbe has a gewaltige word in a sicha. I think it's in Chelik Lamed Vayigash. The Rebbe is made in the Kazakh. And I'm putting words into the Rebbe's mouth to make my point, okay? Mashiach will be miracles, Mashiach won't be miracles. The miracles will happen right away, they won't happen right away. They can happen for everybody, they happen for select few, those are all details. But that's not what it's about. Mashiach is about getting people to do the right thing and being happy about it. In other words, Mashiach is not about miracles, Mashiach is about people. And then the Rebbe says, could there be a greater miracle than all of humanity becoming grown up without miracles? Could there be a bigger ness? Let's say Mashiach comes to Apita, in the limitation. The Mashiach comes and miracles don't happen. And yet Mashiach gets each one of us to be a more righteous person, to be a more moral person, to be a better human being. So the Rebbe says, could there be a bigger miracle than all people becoming righteous without miracles happening? It's the miracle of the no miracle. It's simply the miracle of human beings being human beings. People are mamish amazing. They really are. Human beings, and I didn't say Jews, human beings are amazing creations. The scientist, the biologist, the professor, his life is dedicated to insisting that human beings are simply animals that did a little better. You know? But it's so silly and so stupid and so false on the face of it. But this is you have to say this. What's a person? He's a monkey that walks on 2 feet. What's a person? Is a monkey who's lost the dexterity in his toes. What's a person? He's a monkey who's lost his tail. Who's learned how to speak. Whatever the childish, it's not a shkait. A human being is so different than an animal, it's unimaginable. But what's different about a human being is how much potential he has. Animals have potential to eat. Animals need to do 3 things. Eat, not be eaten, and make babies. That's it. That's their life. Eat, don't be eaten, take somebody else for food, make sure you don't become somebody else's food, and make babies. That's what an animal does. Over and over again. Whether you're talking about a tree shrew or you're talking about a great ape. Human beings have capacity for greatness in the sciences, in the arts, in the social sciences. But more important than all of that, they have the ability to have greatness in the area of being of morality, of ethics, of goodness, of righteousness, of being a person who lives in the image of God. The tragedy of human beings is that we so underachieve. Most people, most times throughout history, have utilized a tiny percentage of their potential. A tiny percentage of their potential. 10% of what we could be? 20%? Probably even less. Why? Because the world around us drags us down. The world around us says, have fun. The world around us says, relax. Imagine the world around us said, let's work hard. Imagine the world around us said, let's be better. Let's work on our midas, let's work on our seichel, let's work on becoming more complete human beings. If our environment was supporting hard work, we would work hard. For the same reason that now our environment supports having pleasure and wasting time and just wasting everything. So that's what we do, because most of us are products of the world in which we live. That's the chap of Mashiach, to change the paradigm, to change the perspective. It's not about miracles. It's simply about people. Mamish, it's about people becoming the best they can be. And yes, you can't become a better person without God for 101 reasons. It can't happen in a so-called secular model. The Eibishter does this. The Eibishter makes this happen. Mashiach is a Navi. Mashiach, well, either he doesn't have to be a Navi, he's a Melech. Mashiach is a Melech. And this Melech changes the world. So I want you to consider the following. One of the stupid questions that the boys asked me downstairs last night was, after Mashiach comes, there's not going to be any more hard work, so what are we going to do at our time? What's the answer to that question? Mashiach is all about people becoming better. Is there ever a person who can't be even better than they are? Is such a thing possible? Of course we're going to work after Mashiach comes. We're going to work harder after Mashiach comes. But we're going to work on finer and higher things, because we're going to be living in a world which supports righteousness. It supports growing up. It supports focusing on how I can be a better person rather than I can enjoy more of the material largesse that the world presents or provides. That's the concept of Mashiach. So I want you to appreciate this concept that the world as God made it, no miracles, no miracles, no miracles. The world as God made it, in the parameters of nature, without any miracles happening, has the possibility to be an incredibly good place. Has the possibility to be an incredibly virtuous place. Even the possibility to be a very, very righteous place. It has to do with the free will of the individual human beings, of which there are 8 billion today, exercises or doesn't exercise. Mashiach is the time when people find the strength to exercise their best self. The person you wish you were, Mashiach can help you become. And I don't think the person you wish you were wants to sit a whole night and watch movies. I just don't think that's true. I think you wouldn't argue with that. It's just hard or impossible, as we say. That's the concept of Mashiach. So the conclusion of this class is a very, very simple thing. Teva is amazing. Nature, the world we live in, without miracles, is amazing. If we maximize it. If we use it in the best and most efficient way. That's how you have to understand Mashiach. So, when we talk about Hashem's names, right? We have the name Havaya, and we have the name Elokim. Havaya means how godliness is revealed, and Elokim means how godliness is hidden. And I gave you a whole class last Thursday, which I am now repeating in just in other words, that Elokim means the face of God. Elokim means the face of God. Now, what does the face of God look like? I told you 2 things last week. You look at it and you see nothing. You look at it and you see everything, just like a person. What do you read in another person's face? There are 2 things that are both true. The person's face tells you nothing about that person. The person's face tells you everything about that person. Elokim is the face of God. Elokim means you're looking at the world just the way the Eibishter made it. No miracles. Do you or do you not see God in it? One person looks at the world, he sees God everywhere. Another person looks at the world, sees God nowhere. They're not looking at different worlds. They just look at it with different sensibilities, with different eyes, with different appreciations. So this kapitel, Lamasech Ben Guinness, which I didn't even bother hanging out because I knew we wouldn't get to it. The Shem Havaya is never mentioned. This perek over and over again. Elokim, 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 Elokim. And I explained to you last week that Latim means the face of God. I'm explaining to you this week what I mean. You don't have to have miracles to have miracles. You don't have to see God violate the laws of nature to see God in the world. Nature is God. And in a perfect world, you see it everywhere. And the perfect world is Mashiach. And what makes it perfect is not that the veal is good. It's that the consumer of the veal is good. Go ahead, Menachem Mendel, what did you want to say?
Miracles help people become their full potential. Would it be to still be like some people who will not reach their full potential, or still like be in the same state as now?
The answer to your question is that the biggest insult that Mashiach could bring to the world is to take away from people the need to work. Mashiach doesn't mean a miracle happens and we all become good. No. A miracle happens and we all want to be good and we have the strength to be good, but we do the work by ourselves. Mashiach's respecting us. We're going to be people with free will. We're just going to do good things. We're going to have the strength to be our best selves. So the answer to your question has to be, for sure, some people are going to be achieving more. Other people are going to be achieving less. Because otherwise that would mean that we're all puppets. We have no free will. And the Eibush is too much of a human being to spoil us like that. For that you have to be an American mother. The Eibush is not an American mother. He wants us to be the best self. Without hard work. If the basis for our success and our failure is hard work, then there has to be some people who are better and some people who are worse. But there's something you must understand, Mendy, and you know it intuitively. We are affected by the people around us. If the people around us are all lazy, to be not lazy is almost impossible. But if everybody around us is hardworking, hard work becomes easy. Hard work becomes almost pleasurable. That's how you have to see Mashiach. Will some people be overachievers? Yeah. Will some people be underachievers? Yeah. Will some people be in the middle? Yeah. But the world will be lifted. So everybody's going to be in a better place because the environment is much more supportive. You know how the Rebbe explains what it means that Goyim are going to be servants of Yidden after Mashiach comes? That since Goyim are going to be good, it'll be easier for us to be good. Since Goyim are going to be busy using their minds to know God, we'll also be able to use our minds. The world is going to support us. Mashiach is one human being, is a bus of Adam, who makes this happen.